Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story. Thanks so much for joining me today. We are going to jump into fall and Halloween today with this Oriental Kaleidoscope pumpkin. I'll show you where I got the kaleidoscope part of it when we are making it. It just kind of creates a very fun formation in the center. And I have added a new kit in this year. This is our traditional kit. I haven't changed anything with this kit. It's got coral on the outside, bright orange on the inside with some lime jump rings and a dark brown stem. And then the newest one, I just kind of switched the colors around. So this one has the bright orange on the outside with the coral on the inside. And then when I originally made this one, we didn't have any other colors of brown. So now we have our light tan, and so this one has a little bit lighter stem to it. This one's a lot of fun. And in this kit, I show you how to do this the easiest possible way. In this kit, I show you how to make this in a little bit more challenging way, but it also teaches you how to make the weave a little bit better so that if you are going to go on and do more Oriental scale, or this is also known as Japanese dragon scale, then it'll kind of teach you how to approach it in a little bit different way. But like I said, the easier way is just fine for this, and it's how I'm going to show you in the video how to do this, because I think, a lot of beginners come along during the holidays and just want to make some really fun crafts for gifts and to sit around their home. And so I want to keep it as simple as possible so everybody can learn it easily. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we need to do when we start making our pumpkin is I've gone ahead and pre-opened my jump rings. You don't have to pre-open if you don't want to, but I find it more convenient. And I am going to basically make a 2 by 1 by 2 by 1 chain. So this is only going to be 3 pairs of rubber O-rings long, and it'll be 3 jump rings. So when I get to the end here, you can see this jump rings at the end. I'm going to go ahead and connect it back to the start. That is going to form a triangle for us. Okay, so I'm going to take my first jump ring. I pick up 2 O-rings, 2 more O-rings. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, I actually have flecks of paint on my fingers. I've been doing some painting and abstract artwork, so please excuse, not all of it comes off. Okay, so that was 4 O-rings connected by 1 jump ring. Very easy, okay? Now I'm going to take this 2 by 1 by 2 chain, and take another jump ring. I'm going to connect it to one of the pairs, pick up 2 more O-rings, and close the jump ring. Okay. So now basically we have all of our O-rings that we want. I'm going to pick up my final jump ring, and I'm going to pass through the 2 O-rings on the end, and I'm going to connect them back to the first 2 O-rings at the beginning. Make sure as you pass your jump ring through that it comes up over the horizon on the top of this O-ring out here, and that'll make sure that you're not going to probably grab onto the O-ring. You never want to grab any of the rubber with your pliers. You can tear it, and then you'll have to take it all apart and put new rubber in there, so you want to avoid that at all costs. Okay, and now you see I'm just pulling my rubber O-rings out, and you can see my 3 triangles in the center of this. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and use our second color of O-ring, And I'm basically going to see how there's 3 O-rings in the back, and then there's 3 O-rings on top. So I'm gonna pull these 3 O-rings up, and I'm gonna actually pull this new color of O-ring over top of these. This is the easiest way to do this. There is another way. In my older kit and tutorial, I actually show how to put this together piece by piece, pushing your jump rings under things and over things, but this is by far the easiest way to do this. You can't do this when you're working with all metal, but you can always do this when you're working with rubber, which is one of the parts that makes it so easy to create 3-dimensional forms with the rubber, is you can pull things over top of other things. Okay, so there is our triangle, or our Oriental scale. So officially this component is named an Oriental scale by the Chainmaille community. And I'm gonna bring in another triangle that I've already completed. So let me just do that again. I'm gonna pull these 3 O-rings up to the top. Oops. Now those little O-rings like to run away from you, so it's up to you not to let them. See, this one really does not want to be a part of this pumpkin. Okay, so you can see I'm just cramming it. When I first started doing this, I used to put a string through all of these 3 O-rings and then pull it up through. But, you know, honestly, just smooshing them together works just fine. Okay, now we have 2 triangles, and you notice I'm putting them together where there's the broader side of a triangle against the broader side of a triangle, okay? And then I'm gonna take 2 more of the second color, the underneath color of O-ring, and then I'm gonna be using 2 more jump rings, okay? And in this part, you'll kind of see how I put together the original triangles in a different way, because we won't be able to pull these O-rings up over top of anything this time because it's going to be connected inside. So we're going to have to do this the manual way. So you'll kind of get to see that. Okay, so I'm going to take this first triangle and I'm going to sandwich this second color of O-ring in between 2 of the bright orange. So I've got the coral sitting between the 2 bright orange O-rings. Now I'm going to take my jump ring and I'm going to pass it through both of these. Okay? And then I'm going to take the other triangle and I'm going to pass through just one of the bright orange O-rings of it. And then I'm going to pass the jump ring up through the coral, or up through that secondary colored ring, and then I'm going to put the other of the bright orange that's in this same row through the jump ring. Okay, and I'll just let you see that. So this is just, what you're seeing is basically a helm wave here. So you can see that this second color of O-ring is sandwiched in the middle of 4 of our first color, the color that's going to be on the outside. Okay, and then I'm going to close this jump ring. Okay, so that wasn't too hard. Once you get the hang of that, it gets real easy. If you're a real beginner, this part may elude you for a time, but you can get the hang of it. Okay, so once again, I'm going to take my second color of O-ring, my inside color of O-ring. I'm going to sandwich it between 2 of the outside O-rings, and I'm going to pass my jump ring down through those 2 outside rings. So you can see that I'm always trying to stay in the center of this coral ring here, the second color, the inside color. I'm staying inside. Now I'm bringing my other triangle over and I'm passing through once again just that back ring, just one of the O-rings belonging to that second triangle. Okay, and I'm passing the jump ring up through a little bit so that now I can hook the second O-ring of the second triangle on top. Okay, so I hope I said all that simply enough for you to understand. I know if you're experienced with chainmail and you've done helm weaves before, then this is a no-brainer. I just want to make sure that if you're really just starting out, that you're understanding these concepts. So I'll show you this again from the side, how these are sandwiched in between the layers of the bright orange. And that when I pass this jump ring through, see how it's sitting in the middle of the coral? It doesn't pass around that coral jump ring at all, okay? So this is the diamond shape that we need to make, okay? And this is gonna be all of the outside rows of our pumpkin. So we're gonna need to go ahead and make 5 total of these. So we have 1, so go ahead and make 4 more of these, and then we'll go on and do some more. Okay, so you can see that I have completed all 5 of my diamond shapes that I need, and I've set a 20mm O-ring into the center. I'm going to pull these out, and then you can see I've got 5 jump rings that I'm going to connect all this together with. Okay, so what I want to do basically is I'm going to take one of my diamonds, and you can see that just like before, we're gonna have a top layer and a bottom layer. And I'm gonna take my first one and I'm going to wrap it around the 20mm O-ring. Okay, so this is just like when we were doing the helm weave. We're just gonna be doing it sideways here, really. Okay, so I'm gonna take my jump ring, and just like before, I'll pass it through the 2 outside O-rings, but I'm staying to the inside of this brown inside ring. Okay, and then I'm gonna pass, see how I'm passing this underneath, so I'm gonna hook the underneath O-ring of the diamond through the jump ring, and then I'm gonna bring the top layer around and hook it to the jump ring on top. So I'm not passing around the brown O-ring at all. And in some of my other projects, this in the kit, this is green, okay? So I just wanted to do some different colors, show you a different color scheme of this and different ways to do it. I have so many colors in the O-rings that you can really have a lot of fun and make each one of these unique. Okay, now I'm going to take my next jump ring, and just like before, I'm going to pass it down through these 2 O-rings on the second diamond that I had added. I'll bring in a third, and I'm just passing through that O-ring that's in the back, and then I'm bringing the front O-ring of the diamond, see, up and around to catch on to the jump ring. Okay, and I know I'm spanning all the way across this center O-ring. It really doesn't matter. You just basically move things where you need to move them. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this down. And here is my next one that I'm going to add. So just so you see, again, this is just getting sandwiched around this 20mm O-ring that's in the center. Okay, so again, down through the pair, through the back one, bring the top one up around the jump ring, and close. Okay. And then I've got one more to connect, and then we'll connect back to the start. Okay, so this gets a little tighter as you go along. Just, you see me pulling the kind of flower petals or the diamonds off to the side to give myself room to do whatever it is that I need to do in any given step. Okay, so there's our 5th. Okay, and then see how I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and you see that these are not connected. So we're just going to use that 5th jump ring to connect the first diamond to the last diamond. It doesn't matter which order you go in. These are kind of being held in position already, so this row is actually fairly simple to work around. Just make sure that you're grabbing all 4 of the O-rings. Okay, and there you have it. Okay, so that is either going to be the top or the bottom of this. And now we're going to join them all up and turn this into a 3-dimensional form. Okay, so I've laid out this next section that we're gonna do, and you can see I just have another 20mm O-ring, and then we have our jump rings that are gonna connect again, and we're gonna do the exact same thing. Okay, so these tips are going to end up looking just like this, and in order to do that, we're now creating our 3-dimensional form. Okay, so let's go ahead. Just looking at both sides of this. Okay, let's go ahead and pinch our 20mm O-ring in between one of these points. Okay, I'm gonna pass through with my jump ring, and we're just doing the exact same thing. So this is the back one, or the inside O-ring, and I'm gonna bring the outside one up and through the jump ring before I close it. So this is exactly the same as we just did. It's just that it's all gonna look different because it's gotta be folded up into a 3-dimensional form at this point. Okay, so I'm gonna pass through these 2, go through the inside O-ring, and then bring the outside O-ring up and over the jump ring. Okay. I kind of pull everything over each time. This just gives me more room to work. Okay, so through both of the O-rings that from the previous diamond I just joined in. See how I'm going underneath? That's the inside O-ring. It's underneath. And the outside O-ring goes over top of the jump ring. And we'll close. Okay. Pass through this one. This is probably the hardest one to bring underneath just because we're running out of room here. But you can see I'm forcing all the way underneath that brown ring I just got to get that hooked in. Now let me choke up on my jump ring here. Okay. And around that top O-ring. Okay, and now you can see that we basically have the body of our pumpkin, and it's all ready to go and all ready for more. Oh, actually, no, it isn't. I have this one more. That's why sometimes I set out 5 jump rings for myself. That way I don't forget that last one. Okay, so this last one, of course, connects the beginning diamond to the end diamond. So pass through the two of the first one, and then you see, and you see, I just squish this, move it about. I move everything where I need it to be so that I can get through the O-rings I need to get through. Okay, now we are done, and we're ready for the next part. So you see, this kind of flattens out, and this is where I got the Kaleidoscope name from, but this is actually going to be our top and bottom where the brown sits, and you can see the outsides are going to be this part here, which is basically like a sideways helm weave that you're seeing. Okay, so now that we've established our pumpkin shape, you can see I've changed my colors. I've got some new O-rings out here. And basically we're gonna start working on the stem of the pumpkin. Okay, so we've got the brown at the top and the bottom. So it's this row of 5 that we wanna be working from. And basically what we're gonna do is we're going to start doing some round mail with this. So round mail is basically European 4-in-1 done in a round formation, okay? So I'm going to use my jump rings to work off of. So you can see I'm going from the outside to the inside of one jump ring, and then from inside to outside, the next one. Okay, and this first row of jump rings is just basically giving us a base to work off of. So I'm going to pick up one of my O-rings onto one side of this prong, and now I'm going to turn this around and pick up another O-ring on the other side. Okay, so you can see I want these laying flat out so we can create a circle around this, and as I said, work off that top row of jump rings that we just added around that 20mm O-ring. Okay, so see how these are kind of just laying flat? They might want to poke up, but it's okay. We'll be using them flat. Okay, so now these are the 2 jump rings that I used in this first step. Now I'm going to go out here to this third jump ring. I'm going to pass from outside to inside, and then I'm going to pass from inside to outside, the second one that I just used in that last step. I'm going to pull this O-ring down over the jump ring, okay, and turn it around. I'm going to add a third O-ring and close. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to continue this all the way around. I'm going to go out to our next jump ring, pass from outside to inside, and then inside to outside, pull my last O-ring I added on, turn my work around, grab the jump ring from the other side, pick up a new O-ring, and close the jump ring. Okay? We're gonna do the same thing. Go through the next, and you notice I just squeeze this any way I need to. Okay, whatever you need to do to get these rings through the jump rings is just fine. We can work everything back into position later. Okay, now this is my 5th O-ring. So that means that I need a 5th jump ring, and of course on this last row you can see that we already have the 2 O-rings that we need. Okay, so this time I'm going to go outside to inside, but I'm going to pass through the O-ring belonging to this left side. I'm going to let the work turn, and then I'm going to pass through the jump ring and the O-ring that's above it. Okay. So our additional rows are going to basically work this very similar to this. And like I said, this row, we're just establishing a section to work off of. Okay, so now you've seen the first row established. We're gonna shift gears just a tiny touch. Really no big deal at all. This is gonna make everything a little easier. So now when I start the next row, again, I'm starting with my jump rings, but this time I'm going to be passing down through one of the O-rings and up out of one of the O-rings, okay? So we're gonna be working off the O-rings from now on. Now, I accidentally, just so you can see this in there, see how I accidentally went through the orange jump ring that's under there? So I'm gonna pull that back out, okay? And you can see this is really loose. Now this gives you a little bit more room to work, and we are going to basically just do the same exact thing as we just did in the last row. It's just we're working off of rubber O-rings now as opposed to passing through jump rings. So I'm gonna put that first O-ring on, second O-ring on, close my jump ring, okay, and now when I go to this next row, I can actually pass down through both of these O-rings, okay, up through the next O-ring. See, this way I'm moving in the right direction so I don't have to turn around each time. Put on a new O-ring and close. Okay, so things just got easier. I'm gonna keep working this row. And when I finish this row, I'm going to actually do a third row too. So I'll just show you this row, just keep working along, and then do another row on top of it the same exact way. Okay, but you can see this is easy. Now that we've got both the jump rings and the rubber O-rings in place that are gonna make up these rows that we're doing, it's made everything much easier to pass through. So I'm passing down through 2, up through 1, pick up my O-ring and close, and see I'm already to number 5. Okay, so this part doesn't take any time at all. It's really, really quick. Okay, and here's my last jump ring. So of course the last jump ring will be going down through 2 and will be coming up through 2. So this is probably the hardest jump ring of the row. But it's okay, you see how I just move things? See how I flopped that over so I could see better? Make sure I got through that rubber O-ring that was underneath, okay? Okay, and then I'm just gonna pass up through and close. Okay, so as I said, I did this row. You're gonna do one more row, and then we're gonna finish this guy off. Okay, so our pumpkin is almost complete. I just want to show you the stem here at the top. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I didn't have the light tan when I first did this project, so that's part of why I really wanted to try some fun new ways to use the colors today and do some things like that. Okay, so all we need to do is you just take your little flower, your little leaves, and we'll pass one of our leftover jump rings through it. I like using the brown ones. And I think this first one, I'm gonna look around. Let's see, this looks like an easy O-ring to pass through. And I am going to try and get underneath that, see? And I'm just passing that jump ring through one of the rubber O-rings that's at the base of the trunk. Okay, so we'll just close that. Okay, we've got one little leaf on our pumpkin. And then on the other side, I just try and aim this for the opposite side for the other 2 leaves. So again, same thing, just look for the bottom of your O-ring, how you can get underneath that easily. And put a leaf there. And then the final leaf I usually attach to the jump ring that's beside it so that these can kind of overlap. So these last 2 leaves kind of look like they're one's laying on top of the other. Okay, but you can put these leaves any way you want. This is how I thought it was cute, but you can do it any way you want to. And of course, you know, change up your colors, change up how you do things. This is an adorable little gift project, or just little pumpkins to sit around during the fall season. And it's a lot of fun to make. So I hope you've enjoyed this project, and make lots of them. They're lots of fun. And be sure to like and follow us on YouTube. We'll be doing some more 3D, I have no doubt. I really enjoy doing the 3D projects. I think it's really interesting to explore all the shapes that chainmail can do. And of course, all of the kits that you saw here, which would be our pumpkin kits or the supplies to make this. If you want to make lots, get a kit, and then you'll be able to buy all the supplies that you need to make this, and lots more of them at beadmeastory.com. Thanks so much.